You don't want attention. You just want to still matter. You don't want attention. You don't want to be the center of the room. You don't want people to fuss over you or ask questions you don't know how to answer. That's never been what this was about. What you want is quieter than that. You just want to feel that you still matter. That when you speak, your words don't disappear into the air. That when you're present, you're not treated like background noise in a life that keeps moving without you. You notice it in small moments. When decisions are made without asking you. When conversations continue whether you're there or not. When your role slowly shifts from being needed to being optional. And you don't complain. Because asking to matter feels selfish somehow. So you stay polite. You stay supportive. You stay quiet. But inside, something aches. Not for attention. Not for praise. Just for the simple feeling that your presence still has weight. The pain isn't being ignored, it's realizing you're still here, but no longer felt. 1. When you start feeling less needed. It doesn't happen all at once. No one announces it, no one says, "You're not needed anymore." You just begin to notice that your presence carries less weight. Decisions get made before you're even aware there was a conversation. Plans move forward without your input. Not because anyone is being unkind, but because people assume you'll be okay either way. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing, that things are just changing, that roles naturally shift over time. So you adapt. You stop offering opinions unless you're asked. You let others lead. You step back quietly. But something inside you resists. Not control, not relevance. Just the feeling that your experience still counts. That what you've lived through still has something to offer. You notice how often people say, "We've got it handled," without realizing what that implies. It doesn't mean they don't appreciate you. It means they no longer think they need you. And that realization lands softly, but deeply. Because being needed was never about power. It was about connection, about knowing your presence made a difference. Losing importance doesn't hurt because of ego. It hurts because it quietly breaks the sense of belonging you once had. 2. Why this hurts more than you expect. This feeling isn't about pride. It's not about wanting control or needing validation. It hurts because being needed was once how you knew you belonged. For most of your life, your value was expressed quietly, through responsibility, through showing up, through being relied on. You mattered because people counted on you. And when that slowly fades, there's no clear replacement, no ceremony, no acknowledgement, just a quiet shift where your presence becomes optional. That kind of loss is hard to explain because nothing dramatic happened. You weren't rejected, you weren't pushed away, you were simply outgrown. And that creates confusion. You start wondering if your usefulness was the only thing that made you matter. If love was tied to what you provided rather than who you are. You don't want attention because attention feels loud and uncomfortable. What you want is subtler. You want to feel consulted, included, considered. You want to know that your experience still has a place in a world that seems to be moving on without you. This kind of pain is quiet because it doesn't feel justified. You tell yourself you should be grateful, that you should let go, that this is just how life goes. But the heart doesn't respond to logic. It responds to meaning. When usefulness fades without recognition, the heart doesn't feel relieved. It feels erased. 3. When you start questioning your value. When usefulness fades, it doesn't leave behind clarity. It leaves questions. You don't ask them out loud. You barely admit them to yourself. But they surface quietly. If I'm not needed anymore, what am I here for? You still care. You still notice things others miss. You still carry insight shaped by years of living. Yet fewer people look to you for guidance. So you begin to wonder whether what you bring still holds value. This doubt doesn't shout. It whispers. You hesitate before speaking. You replay conversations afterward. You wonder if your presence is helpful or simply tolerated. And because you don't want to be a burden, you start offering less. You simplify yourself. You step aside. Not because you lack confidence, but because you don't want to intrude where you no longer feel invited. This is the part that's hardest to admit. You don't miss being in charge. You miss being relevant. Being needed gave you a sense that your life had shape and purpose. Without it, everything feels less solid. This isn't insecurity, it's grief. Grief for a role that mattered and disappeared without being honored. When your role fades without acknowledgement, it doesn't free you. It quietly makes you wonder if you still belong. 4. How you quietly make yourself smaller. Once you start feeling less needed, you don't protest. You adjust. You lower your expectations. You speak only when invited. You hold back thoughts that once flowed freely. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you don't want to overstep. You become careful. Careful not to interrupt. Careful not to offer advice that might feel unwanted. Careful not to remind anyone that you used to matter more. So you soften yourself. You smile politely. You stay agreeable. You say, whatever works for you. And people assume you're fine. They don't see the effort it takes to remain pleasant while slowly disappearing from the center of things. This shrinking doesn't come from weakness. It comes from respect, from not wanting to impose, from not wanting to complicate lives that no longer revolve around you. But here's what gets lost. Every time you make yourself smaller, you leave a little less room for your presence. And over time, that absence starts to feel normal to everyone else, including you. This is how invisibility happens. Not through rejection, but through accommodation. You didn't disappear because you weren't needed. You disappeared because you didn't want to be in the way. 5. When stepping back starts to hurt. At first, stepping back feels like the right thing to do. It feels mature, considerate, even generous. You tell yourself that others need space to grow, that it's not your turn anymore, that this is just how life moves forward. So you stay available, but no longer central. You listen more than you speak. You observe more than you participate. And for a while, this distance feels manageable. But over time, something begins to ache. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just a quiet sense that you're watching life happen instead of being part of it. You notice how rarely your absence is noticed. How easily things continue whether you show up or not. And that realization lands heavier than you expected. Because stepping back was supposed to protect everyone. Instead, it slowly isolates you. You don't want to reclaim the spotlight. You don't want to disrupt anything. You just want to feel that your presence still matters. That being there, or not, makes a difference to someone. This is the contradiction. The more respectfully you retreat, the less room there is for you. And the pain isn't in the retreat itself. It's in discovering how easy it was for the world to move on without noticing. Sometimes the hardest part of stepping back is realizing no one asked you to return. 6. Realizing what you're actually asking for. This is the point where something becomes clearer. You're not asking to be put back in charge. You're not asking to be needed the way you once were. You're asking for something simpler and harder to name. You want to feel that your presence still registers, that when you're in the room, something shifts, even slightly, that your thoughts don't feel intrusive, that your silence isn't mistaken for emptiness. You begin to see that what you miss isn't responsibility, it's resonance. The feeling that your life still echoes into the lives of people you love. And that realization stings because it shows you something honest. You didn't build your sense of worth on attention. You built it on contribution, on being part of something larger than yourself. So when that connection weakens, it leaves you unanchored, not lost, but untethered. This is why the ache doesn't go away when you tell yourself to let it go. You're not holding on to control, you're holding on to meaning. And meaning doesn't disappear just because the season changes. It waits to be recognized in a new form. But before that can happen, you have to stop telling yourself that wanting to matter is something to be ashamed of. You're not craving attention. You're craving the feeling that your life still connects to the world around you. 7. Allowing yourself to matter without apology. For a long time, you've treated this need as something to hide. You told yourself that wanting to matter was selfish, that it meant you were clinging to the past, that you should be more detached by now. So you minimized it. You laughed it off. You stayed agreeable. You acted as if being optional was the same as being at peace. But it isn't. Wanting to matter is not a weakness. It's a sign that you're still connected to life, that you still care whether your presence makes a difference. The problem was never the desire. The problem was believing you had to earn the right to feel important. That unless you were useful, needed, or relied on, your place became questionable. But worth doesn't expire when roles change. It doesn't disappear just because the spotlight moves elsewhere. You begin to see that mattering doesn't always look like being central. Sometimes it looks like being steady, like being someone others feel around, even when they don't say it out loud. And sometimes it means allowing yourself to take up space again, not loudly, not dramatically, but honestly, without apologizing for existing, without shrinking first, without pretending you don't care. You don't need permission to matter. The fact that you're still here, still feeling, already means you do. 8. Letting yourself still matter, quietly. If you've been carrying this feeling quietly, let this be said clearly. You were never wrong for wanting to matter. You didn't misunderstand life. You didn't become too sensitive. And you didn't miss some lesson you were supposed to learn by now. What you're feeling is not a hunger for attention. It's a need for acknowledgement, that your presence still holds meaning, even as roles change, even as the world moves differently than it once did. You don't need to demand a place. You don't need to reclaim the past. You don't need to prove your relevance. You only need to stop disappearing, not dramatically, not forcefully, just gently, by letting your voice exist when it wants to speak, by allowing your presence to take up its natural space again. This chapter of life isn't asking you to fade. It's asking you to matter differently, not through usefulness, not through obligation, but through being, fully, honestly, without apology. And if no one has said this to you lately, let it be said now. You still matter, not because of what you do, not because of what you provide, but because you are here. And that has never stopped being enough.